Hello, everybody. Wow. Right, how many of you, show of hands, it's probably the first thing you do in these kind of talks, has had a wonderful leader, one who inspired you, who let you be really good at what you're doing? Oh, great, lots of hands are going up. Good. How many had the opposite? That sort that, they shoot up fast, don't they? Yeah, the sort that kind of squashes you. Yes, and you can see you kind of kept it with you. Those leaders actually change your brains. In fact, both do. And a really interesting study last year did a really great scan of executives. And what they did was they took people with many years of experience and they talked to them about their leaders. And good leaders created this pattern in people's heads. Now, this is the mirror neuron system. And so it's about affect, it's about connecting with people. And if it's orange, that means it's positive affect. So they had really good memories about getting on well with people, about sharing information, about feeling good, and also about dealing with novelty and newness. That's a word. What happened with the people that had the bad leaders was different parts of their brains lit up, and that's negative affect. And that was about dropping compassion and narrowing in the capability to deal with things. So those brains were changed forever, basically, by those leaders. So I want to talk to you today about how that happens, the neuroscience, I guess, behind it. So something that really struck me over 30 years of working in industry, all different kinds of industries, with good leaders, some bad leaders, leading a bit myself, was that the good leaders had some things in common. So the first thing, many things, but the first thing that was really strong was they all had a very clear vision about where they were going. What was our reason for being here? And they could share it, so everybody could understand what they were there for. And the second thing was an extremely strong set of values. So if you think about that, we know where we're going, and we feel safe getting there because we know we're going to have each other's backs, and it's consistent. And it means that within that boundary, people can do wonderful things. They can be very innovative, and they can strive. And that's because the third thing that those people did really well was they were pragmatic optimists. So they made sure that people understood that they expected the best out of them. And as human beings, we're interesting. If people have really high hopes for us, we meet them. So when they build things, they don't build lots of rules and regulations, and they don't have to have all of those measurements, because you don't need that if someone's striving. Measurements drive us down to the minimum. But if you are able to strive for what you can possibly hope for, then you're going to get there. So this fascinated me. And I was thinking, what is it about them? Yes, they build different structures, but do they think differently? Do they have different brains? And the answer is yes, they do. So I've been looking at that for a number of years, and there's some really interesting work now, right through Europe and Asia, America, Scandinavia. And another trend hit me when I was watching over the years and having a look at this work and doing some work myself, is that now that we've got really good scanning capacities to have a look at what's happening, there's lots we don't know about the brain, but there's some things we do know. The brains of inspirational, transformational leaders are different. And the way that all of the different kinds of tests and research found things is that the difference is around the social aspect of the brain. So if you take an inspirational leader and you scan them, or you're getting them to talk about their organisation, the present and the future, the parts of their brains that light up are around that social networking system, around engagement, around telling stories. And they're able to do that. They're able to get people involved. And they use a lot of we. We will make it better, bigger, happier, we'll have better clients. Yet, when you scan the people who are much more hierarchical and controlling, the parts that light up in their brain are mostly around task. And it's I, how I will build an organisation that'll make more profit, that'll beat the competition. So it's a very different look, and they're actually uncomfortable even having that discussion, because being able to win my heart while they're talking to me, that's kind of not where their head is. So that was a really interesting thing. But why is that important? It's because human beings are hardwired to connect. It's really critical to us. So if you have the capacity to do that, then you're going to lead a lot more powerfully, and people are going to be a lot more keen to go where you want to go, and even to go other places as well that can make the organisation even better. We're hardwired in the way that we have something called interpersonal neural synchronisation. So it's a big word for saying that if I'm talking to you directly, then we synchronise our brains. So that becomes really powerful. It's actually something happening in your brain that's making a difference. So if we have an example, I'm one of those charismatic, inspirational leaders, and this is my company, right? So we're a small, neat, wonderful company, but the market's changing and we have to do something a bit different. So when I'm coming here and I'm talking to you, if I can inspire you in my pragmatically optimistic way, and we're talking about where we're going to go and the fact that we have to move, but that's okay because we're a really good company and people in this organisation are very capable. So we'll get there, and what we'll do is do it together and we'll figure out what's in the way and we'll get past that. Then your parasympathetic nervous system starts to fire. You have a little bit of anxiety because it's new, but that becomes energy. And when that parasympathetic nervous system fires, your immune system kicks in, and you start getting all sorts of chemicals in your body. And some of those chemicals are the chemicals that your brain uses to make new neurons. So if I was to scan everyone while we start doing this, you'd be growing a new neural map. And the wonderful thing is, there'd be some matching there. So think about how powerful that is. We need less rules, less regulations. I don't need to keep giving you emails and org charts and videos and all that kind of thing, because you've got it in your head. So that's another part of what the charismatic leader understands, is that face-to-face direct communication is critical. Because when I meet you, like the first time I meet you, if we start to talk, then you've got spindle neurons, mirror neurons, you've got all sorts of things going on in your head. And we've got dynamic resonance of being in the same space, and once again, we start getting these chemicals. And those neurons are to do with trust. They're the trust neurons. So we actually start building a relationship immediately. In fact, in as little as 1/20th and 1/6 of a second. They're really fast. And that's really critical because that's the second thing that these leaders understand, is the power of trust. If I trust you and you trust me and we trust the process, you're going to be able to go outside of your comfort zone. You're going to be able to do things that you didn't do before, try new things because you know that someone's got your back. And you'll be more collaborative. And the other thing that will be really important is fairness. Perceived fairness is quite critical. It means that we will collaborate, we will try new things. But in really interesting studies about perceived unfairness, that shuts down. Because your brain goes into a different type of filter. It stops looking for information that's going to make us collaborate together, and it starts looking for information that proves to me that I don't have to do it with anyone else. So you actually change what you look for and what you bring into your brain. So trust is really critical. And the third thing I'll leave you with is empathy. Because a big part of trust is empathy, and a big part of working with other people is being empathic. Now, people think empathy is fluffy. It's not fluffy at all. In fact, it's a physiologically structured process in your brain. And one of the things it's really critical for is complex problem solving and strategy. So the best strategists I've ever worked with are very empathic. So don't leave that at home. You bring that right to the table. What happens in your brain when you have a complex problem is there's information that's missing. So your brain says, okay, I'm not sure where that is, so what I'll do now is I'll go and find it by new filters going into your brain. And those filters look for information based on different criteria, and the criteria is around long lens thinking and consequences, not what do I want right now. So it actually shifts how we look at things. And it engages, of course, people's hearts because you're being empathic, you're caring. So it really is right that if you engage the heart, that's when you can change the mind. Because the chemicals that are in the discernment process can reorganise the patterns in your brain and actually make you think differently. So what does all this mean? It means that you have a wonderful chemical cocktail going off in the brains of people with these good leaders. It means that their brains are faster, that they take in information more quickly, that they are more nimble in giving out decisions. And it means they're happier. And the last wonderful thing to think about is, so are you. So everyone here, if they're not a leader already, you will be, because why else would you be at a TED Talk? You will be happier, because the wonderful thing about human beings is this is reciprocal. When your brain changes, my brain changes too. So you get better at the metacognitive skills of leading. You build better organisations so people can be flexible. You get better at that social capacity of getting people to work together. And you also get better at your own emotional aspect of leading. So we can all do it. We've all got hearts and we've all got brains. So don't think that the capacity to engage and the capacity to like people and to build that picture and paint the future is a fluffy thing. It's not. The soft stuff is the hard stuff, but it actually makes a neurophysiological difference. So I'm here to tell you that scientifically, those parts of leading make you a great leader. Thank you.